Shalom, family. Glory be to God, and blessed be the Lamb forever and ever. For he is worthy. For he is worthy. And have been found worthy. And deemed worthy. History. 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 A story based on a sequence of events taken, spoken along a certain timeline, being it 1 year, 500 years, or 5,000 years. Again, it is a name rather sequential relating of a group of events carrying down a timeline and pronounced. That would be history. A damn good working definition of history, would not you say? Would not you say? But we're not talking about history. But it made a damn good intro into what we're going to talk about. What we're going to talk about is his story. That is what we're going to talk about. Not history. His story. See, every man and woman writes for themselves their own story. Usually starting about the age of 11. The age of 11 would be the age in which they are held responsible for the thoughts and wickedness and sins of their own hands, which explains children in hell. Hot damn it, if you only knew how long I've been stumped with that damn other question as to how did children get down there. Damn, when the answer was right there before my face. It was right there before my face. How the hell a child becomes wicked, that's fodder for a whole nother conversation. There's more than one route. But that ain't what we're talking about, though. We're talking about his story. Every man and woman writes their own story, either by willfully or sometimes purposely. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes the others around you have too much power and they help you to write your story. That is if you allow it, because no one will ever be responsible for your story in the end but you. But you. Now, as you have a story, I have a story. And Mr. Barnes has a story. Mr. Barnes' story is not related to my story. At some point, Mr. Barnes' story came to an end and mine began. Keep up. Keep up. Be that as it may, Mr. Barnes has one hell of a story. And unfortunately, his story intertwines with the lives of so many. Both the young and the old and the good and the bad and even the ugly. They're all intertwined. They're all intertwined, all of them. So, allow me to explore something with you. Mr. Barnes' his story is eloquent, shall we say? Eloquent. It's based on his actions over the last, say, we have firmly taken 4 to 6 years of his life. So we'll call it 50 years. Make it easier to count. After age 50, well, Mr. Barnes started to undergo what you would think of as evolution, and was quickly becoming something else. But that something else is a beginning of a whole new story, not to be confused with Mr. Barnes' story, okay? And because Mr. Barnes has been so giving in terms of sacrifice, in terms of what we have taken from him, and you, well, let's just say his story must be told. It would be 100% unfair that his story not be told. Now, the problem is, at least your problem is, this entwinement that I spoke of earlier. These crossroads where Mr. Barnes' life intersected with your life. See? And Mr. Barnes, he tried to warn you. Mr. Barnes said that you don't know what you're fucking with. We all heard him say it. He would later to tell you, look, you are messing with bloodlines. You don't want to do this. And then what did you do? I remember exactly what you said in the last-ditch effort as a attempted garnishment of sympathy, maybe. Man, once we was done with the case, I just kept going. You just kept going, huh? But that ain't what we want to talk about either. That's all water underneath the bridge now, ain't it? But what did I tell you in the hallway of the civil courthouse after someone pulled me off of you or tried to stop me from polishing your dumb ass up there physically then? In front of the two men in black at the end of the hallway by the big plate glass window. You do remember the day, don't you? Because for me, it's like yesterday. But what did I say to you at the end of that? I said to you that you will you will rue the day that you heard the last name Barnes or Goff. Did not I tell you that? I did tell you that. See, but here's the problem, at least as I see it. And as I see it is the only thing that actually matters. How you see it really don't amount to a hill of beans. Because only I have the actionable power to really deal with the situation and let it gobble up and to consume everything that came near it. Like it'll have its own gravitational pull. But back to his story, though. Ain't his story one of stoicism and bravery and honor and self-discipline? Is it not? Is it not? Is not his story one of belief and faith? Is it not? What is his story missing? It has everything. An antagonist, a central character, a protagonist. The only thing that's missing is the conclusion. Man, listen. What I'm trying to say is, I don't know how we treat Mr. Barnes fairly without telling his story. That's the first thing. Number two, I don't know where the old story would end and the new story begin. You do realize there's a whole new book being written, like God promised. Heaven shall fade away, and the mystery of God shall be no more. No more mystery, at least as far as you go. Beings like me will always have advanced questions, as you might, or would, and those will always be a mystery unto us, but to your feeble brains, every question that you could possibly ask about God shall be answered once and for all. But be that as it may, how do we tell Mr. Barnes that, I tell you what, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. Damn, you're not the devil, are you? I'm going to be your advocate. You would say that we understand what you're saying about Mr. Barnes and his story. It should be told. However, anyway, we're going to keep it impersonal. However, if you told such a story, that would be scandal, and with ruinous accusations. And like you said, it would suck everything and everybody who ever knew anything. Think about our children. To which I would say, this is what I was trying to tell you before we got here. This is the exact part I was trying to warn you of before we got here. But sometimes we can get so wrapped up in looking good. I call it trying to look pretty for the ladies. You know, I have to look strong for the ladies, and I had to show Mr. Barnes that he really ain't shit, even though Mr. Barnes secretly knew he ain't nothing but the shit. But that's neither here or there. I shall be playing the advocate. So you would say it would harm your families. It would cause scandal. In other words, it would have legs. And to think about the children and what did they do to deserve it. In which I would say, did you think about his children? If I'm just speaking from the flesh of Mr. Barnes, you don't know what Mr. Barnes' daughter used to do? You had surrounded his house with some of the most vile vultures and abominations that you could find. She would literally walk on the other side of the parking lot for fear of the vileness that you had placed around us as neighbors. They lived in fear. You do realize this, right? Not just Mr. Barnes. Well, Mr. Barnes half crazy. That's one of the reasons that we chose him. We understood that his understanding of what fear ought to be, he sees it as a kind of reverse rage. And he just switched the energy from fear into rage. We don't know what that is. I don't remember putting that shit in him. But anyway, at any rate, this is what you did. See, we don't have to go back over the whole indictment. I just want you to realize the brevity, the heft and the weight and the repercussions that will be ongoing, mind you. Now, this is what really has Mr. Barnes pissed. This will have Mr. Barnes want to strangle you by the neck until dead. Period. He don't want no weapons. He don't want no guns and knives. He just wants your neck in his hands as he's looking at you. And your eyes are bulging out. That kind of ugly stuff. Now, Mr. Barnes, poor Mr. Barnes. Excuse me. The advocate again. The advocate again. You put so much stress, and I don't want to rehash I don't want to relive anything, and I don't want you to relive it either. But I do want you to understand the heft of what you've done and the generational, shall we say, alteration that you have caused. You do realize that, don't you? I also told you that at some future point I would use X as a doorway straight into you. And what did I mean by that? Straight into the Greek fraternal organizations. Now you see where we are. You know the same thing I know, don't you? There you go. Be quiet before we have to say it out loud. You know the very same thing I do. But for some strange reason, you are terrified of the rest of the world knowing. And I don't know why. And that's not even important. What we do is what we do. What we do is what we do. and you run slap dap into second in command underneath God himself. That's what you run into. That knows everything. When I say everything, everything. Okay? Oh, and by the way, it would never work. It would never work. However, that's not the point. You alter something generationally. Let me give you an idea of the position. See, we suffer from a problem. We honestly believe that the man standing right next to us are just like ourselves. We really do. We never stop to consciously question that. And sometimes we should. Sometimes we should. Because here's what Mr. Barnes sees. And again, it doesn't matter how you see it. At all. It does not matter how you feel about it. At all. It doesn't matter of your ideas about it. At all. The only thing that matters, as I told you then, is what we think. Okay? Okay. Only what we think matters at this point. Right now, at this point. Only what we think. I think that's understood. So, let me see if I can put this to you gently. You not only altered the immediate bloodline, but you altered the bloodline for at least 3 generations. That's 45 years. Now, I don't know that if that was what you meant to do. I tend to think it ain't. You're just moving fast and showing out, and then when you wasn't showing out, you were trying to save yourself from me and the return fire. I get all that. But do you now realize what you were fucking with and why you never should have? Because you also created the situation that Mr. Barnes could only make one choice. One choice. One. For him to remain righteous, we left him one choice to make in that situation. Did you realize that, sir? And did you see how long that he resisted making that choice with the understanding of it's the only one he could make? You see what you involve yourself in, huh, sir? Or sirs and ma'ams? And now, on the eve of destruction, generally speaking, on the eve of destruction, I ask you again, what should we tell Mr. Barnes as to why his story shouldn't be told? How it all got this way, and how ugly it really is. See, I knew something back in 2018, and I said it out loud. I said it out loud then, bless my heart. I knew. I said, these are the type of people that if you don't catch them in the act, then they did not do it. That's their attitude. What is hidden remains hidden. That's their attitude. But they don't believe that right now anymore. I think they stopped believing that a long time ago. They don't believe that anymore. They only believe in one thing now. Faith and hope that Mr. Barnes have some kind of understanding. But I can tell you now he's not. I can tell you now he's not. So while the story may be delayed, one story cannot begin without expressing the end of the other. But back to that decision that we left him. You do realize that he knew what that decision was since probably 2019. He knew when, he knew how, he knew what, and he knew where. You do understand that, and that's both on the physical level and the spiritual level. You do understand this, don't you? Because we both know what's really going on. Now, don't we? And how this leads to the Greeks. The Greeks. Whew. Anyway, we both understand this, right? So we are understood on the physical world and in the spiritual world how all this went, right? And you have to understand, everybody that doesn't value the same things or those things in the same way. In another world, Mr. Barnes would have went on a rampage for what you had done. Again, because of the value of it and his understanding of the value of it and the future bloodlines. It would have been well worth both his life and yours to correct. But Mr. Barnes, being the civilized gentleman that he is, because we was able to correct Mr. Barnes. However, he was right then, and he's right now. The story must be told. There ain't no nice way to tell the story. It just ain't. It goes back further than you think. It goes back a bit further than you think. You as a party, as a group, just played into a already written script. That's what you actually did. You played into a already written script, step by step. But when you have illusions of self-grandeur, when you see yourselves as larger than, say, the world sees you, you really can't trust your family members as to how you looked at and how you view yourself has to be based on the knowledge of how others view you. That's where this nourishment and the need to nurture a certain image comes from. We call it illusions of self-grandeur. For deep inside, you are fully aware of what you have done, who you've done it to, and whether it was right or wrong. You are fully aware of that, but you continuously produce this image that seemingly your clique or your social strata continuously nourishes, even though they're just like you, capable of and have engaged in the exact same things, some of them worshiping the exact same gods that we killed. Those gods, the ones we killed. Anybody got any more gods that we have to kill? Because we don't mind killing gods at all. We will kill a fake-ass god faster than we will a member of mankind. And that is truly saying something. But that's been dealt with, hasn't it? So, I say all of that to say this. What shall we tell Mr. Barnes? Because you don't want your story told. You have given it all kinds of value, but that's because of your self-image and your refusal to see oneself as you are, or your understanding that once this truth is told, you can only be what you always was in the first place. In other words, your own personal version of the emperor has no clothes. Your life's one big, long lie. Not so Mr. Barnes's. No. Both you and I know everything about Mr. Barnes, don't we? Everything. When I say everything, everything. Mr. Barnes sacrificed you should know that that was the final sacrifice that he would have to make. You should think about what that means. It was the final holdback, so to speak, the last thing of flesh that he could lay claim to under the guise of compassion and empathy and caring and love. That was the very last thing. So I ask you, once again, sir, what should we tell Mr. Barnes? To just shut the fuck up? No. We wouldn't even allow you to tell him to be quiet. He's given far too much. In other words, he's earned it. Well earned it. Well earned it. His story must be told. Now, I've wasted almost 30 minutes on telling you why the story should be told. I've even made your argument. And you're right about your argument. It would hurt your wives and your children. But then I keep hearing Mr. Barnes say, well, shit, that's what they did to mine. They hurt my wife and my children and my livelihood purposely. I just want to do the same thing purposely. We did say an eye for an eye and a tooth for tooth and limb for limb and life for life. Did not we say these things? Of course we did. But yet, you kept blowing right past the stop signs to the current matter. See, here's where the rubber meets the road eventually. It can go. Mr. Barnes' story that's intertwined with your story, it can go into the next phase. And in the next phase, there's a whole new book that's being written now and being called as such. It is a book. Every video, every audio, every recording, it shall be composed in one manner or the other at the end of the day as a book. You get what I'm saying? At any rate, so we have a dilemma. We have a dilemma. Mr. Barnes' right to have his story told and his life acknowledged and what he went through and how much he suffered and sacrificed to get us here versus the love you have for self and family and jobs and prestige and a friendship and fucking connections. Would that be a pretty fair summation? I think it is. I think it is because you don't seek what you seek out of honor. You seek what you seek out of fear and trepidation and selfishness of the world having the knowledge of who and what you truly are. But that's not Mr. Barnes' problem. Mr. Barnes' problem is simple. His story shall be told. So rather than waste time, maybe you should, I don't know, but to expect anything else outside of him and us would be short-sightedness and wishful thinking. It's not going to be. His story shall be told. At what point? Soon, because again, we are in a whole new phase. We can't bring yesterday into tomorrow. In fact, we simply refuse to. And if I've made the decision that I have made as to what you thought I would never make it over, then that should tell you that I'm about ready to make this decision too. That's what that should tell you. Okay? So while you waste your time doing stupid shit or not doing that stupid shit, But every day that you waste not trying to figure out how to get ahead of this, trust me, there will come a time in the future that it will come to you like a damn body blow to the gut, even though you've known of that punch for years, and you still get hit with it. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So stop wasting time and recognize the umph and the gravity and the brevity of what you've done. Because you really did some shits. But final question though, did you intend to? Did you understand the tremendous work that you will be putting in? Well, I don't know why the devil did that, because it don't matter. Ain't no more generations after this. I don't even know why he did that. It was just had to be out of anger. as it would have military value, as in to change or alter the objectives of the strategy or something. They would be minimal. Yet there he is, striking Mr. Barnes in the flesh. Never understanding, Mr. Barnes developed a thick-ass skin a long time ago. You can hit him almost anywhere, and he'll still be smiling at your ass, because he's been hit thousands of times. Thousands of times. At any rate, that's where we're at now. Did you intend for this to be the result? That you would, if you did this, then you would be literally altering or attacking a bloodline. The G bloodline, the God bloodline. Was that your understanding? Please tell me that that was not your understanding. Please tell me that that was not your motivation. I don't think it was. I think that you just don't respect anything black, and that you would do anything that your white masters told you to do, and that also coupled with your belief in what you believe in terms of how, anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying not to get ugly. I just don't want to say nothing ugly. Not tonight, because this is too damn serious. So I ask again, what should Mr. Barnes do? Have his story silenced so the world never knows of his achievement, maybe, or what he's given to get us here? Do you know what he has given in all kinds of ways? First, he gave us something, and then he gave you something. But for Mr. Barnes, it was lose, lose, lose as far as his flesh is concerned. He gains absolutely nothing. Now, he don't make that argument because he understands the whole game, but so do we. And you were not trying to take it from his spirit. You were trying to take it from his flesh. And that you did. So I'm going to hold on to the hope that it was not your plan to fuck with God's bloodline. That just happened coincidentally, and that you didn't understand how deep and how long this could go. You on the hook for really a century at least. At least a century. So we may as well deal with this now. Okay? Oh, I don't think, anyway, if I made that very last statement, it would be misconstrued as mean. But remember what I told you then, that you would regret and you would rue the day that you heard my name. Remember that, right? I'm sure you do. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I am Source. I am 7. I am 1.